Hey people, what is happening? It is Saturday. Thank you for being here. We've got a lot of financial, economic news to get into today. With the drastic rise in home prices, we have home equity levels at all-time highs. Now, this is a good thing if you're selling your home. If you're not selling your home, it may not be so good because you're going to see higher property tax bills. Also, when more homeowners borrow against their equity and take out home equity lines of credit, that causes inflation because they're taking these home equity loans and they go out and they're spending it, and that's causing demand to increase. Also, when equity is high in homes, you see a lot more scams. Let's talk about a scam that's been happening here and go to this story right here in this article. But I found many articles similar to this one. Oak Harbor woman loses house in mortgage misunderstanding. So this was a reverse mortgage. Now, a reverse mortgage is essentially like a home equity line of credit, but it works a little bit different. Basically, you're borrowing against your home equity and getting paid, sometimes in a lump sum, sometimes monthly payments. So instead of paying in, you're getting paid back. The homeowner gets paid back, but you're signing off your rights to the home because basically your home is now has a lien against it essentially. And a lot of these reverse mortgages come with different terms and conditions. And this particular company thought that this homeowner no longer lived in the home, so they called in the loan and then began foreclosure proceedings and basically took her home away from her. Now, she is fighting back against this. Luckily, she's got legal representation, and they should not have taken her home from her because she lives in the home still. But the thing that happened is the mortgage company representative from the company came to the home to see if she was still living there. She didn't answer the door. She's an elderly woman, so maybe she was afraid to answer the door. So basically, a misunderstanding caused this woman to nearly lose her home. But some people are not so lucky, and some people don't have legal representation. There's been other times where people have went to the hospital for an extended stay, and the lender on a reverse mortgage thought they left the home, so they foreclosed on the home. Things like this. So you have to be very, very careful. If something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Now, I'm not out here saying that reverse mortgages are all bad. There are some situations where they may work out for you, but even Consumer Reports have something to say about reverse mortgages. Take a look at this. Out of consumerreports.org, don't be suckered into buying a reverse mortgage. Advertisements make them sound tempting, but reverse mortgages can put your retirement at risk. Not only that, you could actually lose your home because you're putting a lien against your home essentially. So the more equity you have in your home, the more the sharks are going to come out and try to scam the home out of you. Now, again, I'm not saying reverse mortgages are a scam. They can be very, very dangerous if you don't know what you're getting yourself into. They also have other terms and conditions that have caused a lot of problems, like you have to have so much insurance on the home. So basically, when you get one of these mortgages, the lien holder is now dictating what you can do. You have to stay in the home, you have to get this type of insurance, yada, yada, yada. In some cases, you can't rent it out if you decide to, so you lose your rights when you do this. So again, I'm not saying not to do this. Do your own due diligence. If you know a family member that's considering this, please do some due diligence for them if they're not doing due diligence, because it can be very, very devastating financially. Now, speaking of people that are retired, we know that people on fixed incomes, retired people, they're having a lot of the people are having the most difficult time right now with this rising cost of living situation. And we know that a lot of retired people have had to go back to work, have had to move in with their family and give up their home. Luckily, some of them have sold their home and gotten some nice equity out of the home and made some money on the sale and then have moved in with their family. But the ones that are not selling their homes and taking those gains, a lot of them are having a very difficult time. Home prices go up, insurance goes up, taxes go up. We know that repair costs and maintenance are going up. If you need a new AC, if you need a new heating system, furnace, prices are just astronomical. And even appliances, things that you need in a home, everything's going up. So it's becoming more and more difficult to stay as a homeowner without going into debt. So that's why a lot of people are choosing to sell. We see the home ownership rate is still below where we were at the peak of the previous housing bubble. Foreclosures are starting to tick up. Not anything that's alarming yet. They're not anywhere near all-time highs. In fact, we're still near historical lows, even though we are up over the previous year by quite a bit. It's actually a 700% increase. That sounds like a lot, but 700 or 7 times the amount of foreclosures that we saw last year, but still at near historical lows. So nothing to be alarmed about yet. And even if a lot of foreclosures do happen, you're going to have these institutional mega companies coming in and buying a lot of homes. We see it each quarter increase and home ownership rates decreasing. So I don't expect any home price crash anytime soon. In fact, I don't ever expect a crash. Home prices don't really crash. You may see at some point a decline. I don't see that happening this year, but it could be a correction at some point if the banking system gets more heavily regulated, if they stop the zero reserve lending and other practices that make it really easy for banks to give out loans. If they stop buying securities, they've been saying they're going to do that. Here we are almost at the end of March, and they're still buying billions in securities each month, including mortgage-backed securities. And I told you when they first announced that over 6 months ago that I didn't think they were really going to stop buying these securities. And now with the conflict over in Europe, that's the excuse now to keep the easy money going, to keep the buyer and lender of last resort still buying and still lending. Now, let's talk about something that's affecting not everybody, but most people in the United States, and that's gas prices. Even if you don't own a car, if you take an Uber, if you take a Lyft, if you take a bus, a taxi, you're likely going to see fares going up because everybody's paying higher prices for fuel. Let's see the worst state in the country right now to be in as far as gas prices. And I'll give you 3 seconds before I scroll down to place your bets. What state is the worst or with the highest gas prices? You guessed it. California at $5.86 per gallon. And we see most of the western states are the highest. Nevada coming in, looks like a close second. $5.12. Hawaii, $5.09. $4.71 in Oregon, $4.73 in Washington. Other states that are pretty high, Illinois at $4.51. New York at $4.37. The best place to be, the lowest price, middle of the country here, the breadbasket, Kansas, Missouri, Iowa, Nebraska, all in the upper $3 range. Oklahoma, Arkansas as well. Texas also pretty low there at $3.92. It's crazy to say that $3.92 is low, but that's where we're at, folks. And we reported a couple weeks ago about how Lyft and Uber drivers especially are getting eaten up by these high prices and really cutting into the bottom line for people in this type of work, including these food delivery drivers. And we saw a big uptick in people delivering food when the sickness came out, when so many restaurants closed their doors and started doing more deliveries. Well, now these people are having to pay the piper because of these high fuel costs. And I was thinking the other day, some good ways to save. We talked about the app called Get Upside. Saved about $11 here. I've been using it for a couple weeks, so it might equate to about $20 a month. Also, the Costco card, I believe it still gives you 4% cash back at all gas stations. So if you can do that, plus one of those money-saving apps, maybe you can take some of the sting off of these high gas prices. Next, let's talk about the ongoing rise in the cost of food. And we've been reporting on this here for over 2 years now, how the United States, we are a net importer of most items and goods, including food. You would think we'd be a net exporter, but we're a net importer of food. And now with the fertilizer that usually comes from Europe and Russia, now we're seeing big problems with the farmers. Some farms choosing to no longer farm because of the cost of the fertilizer and cost of everything else is basically making it to not even worth it to grow the food, because your yield may not pay for the overhead and what it's going to cost, including the fertilizer and now the high fuel prices. In California, we have avocado farmers that have shut down completely just because of cost of water. So the cost of water was so much that it wasn't even worth it to grow the avocados anymore, because they couldn't sell them for enough to make a profit. So why grow the food? So it's a big problem. And I've been encouraging people here for a while to try to be more self-sufficient. I am definitely lacking in that area. I'm going to try to improve on it this year. That's one of my my plans, my goals for this year, is to really step up my food growing game. But it's not just people like me saying this anymore. Take a look at the warnings that are coming out of here. And this is out of National Geographic. War in Ukraine could plunge world into food shortages. So yes, expect even pricier food this year. And now even the president is out there warning about these food shortages. Quote, "It's going to be real." Now, I think about 99% of you here are not surprised at all with what's happening. We've been preparing for this. The people that used to make fun of me here and call me doom and gloom, maybe they're starting to realize the truth now, that things are going to get really, really bad. The cost of living continues to skyrocket, expenses continuing to skyrocket, food prices, everywhere you look, higher prices. And it's a very small percentage of the population that has an income that's keeping up with these rising costs. And therefore, you're going to see debt continue to skyrocket. And there's going to be more rescue plans. We talked a couple reports ago about how they're talking about doing gas stimulus checks now because of the cost of gas. Well, it's going to be stimulus checks for lots of other things, because these prices are going to continue to go higher. So continue to brace, invest accordingly. There's always a bull market somewhere. There are places to invest right now where you can make some pretty good money. And for people following me on Patreon, I'll have my video up by the end of the week that shows all my investments and what I'm investing in right now. The companies I'm also shorting in a couple different areas through put options, but I'll explain it all over there. And it's a good time to make money if you're prepared, if you know what's going on. And if you don't, I mean, it's a very scary time. It's a very scary time either way, because you don't know what's going to happen. Banks could close down. We could see a cyber attack, and people could lose their money in the snap of a finger. If you have it on a digital screen somewhere, it can be gone. So I think it's a scary time no matter what, even if you're prepared, because the unexpected, one of the old sayings is expect the unexpected. I think the world's going to continue to get crazier. Who knows what's next, but keep on stacking, folks. Be well. Big love to all of you. Peace. Bye for now.